The VGRT Gaming Podcast, episode 745, recorded on February 19th, 2025.
Welcome to the 745th edition of the TD Gaming Podcast and 578th episode of Video Game Roundtable. I'm TJ Dinzer.
I'm Scott Dirk.
And I am...
Podcast, the 578th episode
oh, shit. Let's do this over again. This is ridiculous. Right. So that was the lag, everybody. Sorry about that.
A little bit of reverb.
Yeah. The VGRT Gaming Podcast, episode 745, recorded on February 19th, 2025.
Hello, and welcome to the 745th edition of the TD Gaming Podcast and 578th episode of Video Game Roundtable. I am TJ Dunser.
I'm Scott Dirk.
I am Jonah Falcon.
The VGRT Gaming Podcast focuses on game news from around the industry.
Right. So, we're going to talk about the obvious stuff. Scott, have you been playing Avowed?
No, I've been playing Daybreak, Trials Through Daybreak 2.
Okay.
I'm continuing the epic saga that is the Trials the Legend of Heroes. This one, Trials of Daybreak. So the second game takes place about like a month after the events of the first game, or maybe it was a couple months. And this game now you have a couple mini games, because in the first one there was no real mini games, and now you have them back. You have these. The fishing is back, and it's a little bit different, where you have to point an arrow towards where this reel is going around in the zone.
I wonder if it's a real RPG if it doesn't have fishing in it, especially if it's a JRPG.
Yeah, that's definitely been a joke with a lot of games. It's not a JRPG unless you have fishing. And then, so after the fishing is this treasure chest unlocking thing where you, like in this VR little maze, and you have to make your way around it, dodging these little enemies, and doing some quick time event at some lock points to unlock the chest. So there, I think there's another one that I forget what it is. And the combat's pretty much the same. You get different characters this time around, it seems like, or at least at the beginning. I'm still pretty early on. And it's a good story so far, and I'm enjoying it.
Cool. So, first thing, I've actually attempted to start to do Stardew Valley again. Why not? Speaking of fishing, I mean, one of the first things is the mayor says, "Hey," well, not the mayor. Some guy says, "Here's my old fishing boat. Why don't you try and fish for a while?" Okay, because the thing is that there's been so many things added to the game. I just had to give it some time. I'm starting that a little bit, but I've been playing Avowed, so certain things about Avowed that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes. First, I want to talk about the combat. And it seems very obvious to me that the people who were developing it at Obsidian really, really liked Dark Souls, because they went hard into Dark Souls style combat. And I knew that it was Dark Souls because, whenever you level up in Dark Souls and you change your stats, it has that arrow number. Same exact style, same exact font. It is Dark Souls combat, for all the good and bad about it. So the thing about that is that a Elder Scrolls game, I'm not sure is well adjusted to Dark Souls style combat. I know there was a lot of in Elder Scrolls shield, parry, return sort of thing, especially if you had a shield and a sword, block, attack, move back. That's what happens here, but in a very Dark Souls style way. And it's especially obvious when you're fighting bosses, because they have this sort of same tankiness and puzzliness of Dark Souls bosses. Not as much of a puzzle, but it still has that same feel. And sometimes I get really frustrated, and sometimes I say, "Oh, this is cool." What it lacks is the grindiness of Dark Souls. Also, you're going to be underpowered for a little bit of the game until you actually upgrade your sword and get better stuff. because the first boss you fight is a bear, and several times you just wipe the mat with me because I wasn't really doing the parry dodge stuff well enough. Fortunately, Avowed has a story mode so that you can just say, this is too hard. I'm going to switch to story mode just to get past this one boss. Boom, I'm done. Put it back on normal or whatever. So, I mean, if you're really into Dark Souls, you'll probably be able to handle the bosses a lot better than I would. But it also acknowledges this is an RPG. This is not Dark Souls. If the combat gets too frustrating, just sweep right through it. And story mode is extremely easy. There's another thing that I like is that when you find a camp, you can later go to that camp, but as a fast travel thing. But what you can do is return to where you were. So it's not like you're going to this camp and having to walk all the way back. No, you can automatically just teleport. So basically, it's just you can make a camp anywhere. It's going to be a specific spot on the map. And if you want to leave from that spot on the map, you're fine. But if you want to go back to where you were, you can do that too. It's Unreal Engine 5, but there's sort of a cartooniness to it that's deliberate. It's not like they don't know how to make good graphics, but it's a very deliberate looking game. I have not played much of Pillar of Eternity 1 or 2. I know some of it, and they just shoot lore at you. They keep on shooting lore at you. But the good thing is that when you have the option of actually, when it's your turn to talk, press X and then see everything that was discussed, and then there's a glossary next to it with special terms in case you don't know what they're talking about. So there's a mini glossary within the game. It starts off slow like every Elder Scrolls game, but then it's actually, I started getting engaged in the story because the characters are really well written.
Oh, nice. So that's it so far?
I've gotten to certain points. There's one moment in the game which I really appreciated. So there's one moment in which you're doing a mission for a madam of a whorehouse, and she's very secretive about what you're getting. When you talk, you see additional dialogue options depending. If you have 3 or higher intelligence, you can ask this specific question. If you have 2 or higher resolve, you can ask this specific. So I could have pressed her for it, but I didn't. So when I went there, I met some really tough mercenaries in front of it, and I got wiped. So when I started again, instead of going for a lower thing, I noticed I could go in back, and then I thought, oh wait, I can sneak in here, grab the stuff, and leave without them ever knowing I was there. And since this is Obsidian, when I went back to the madam, she said, "Do you have any problems?" I said, "They never knew I was there. I just took the stuff and ran." And then I used my intelligence to say, "I know what you're looking for. This is stuff that allows you to either use it as a birth control or as an abortion drug." And she gets really upset, and I just go, no, it's cool. I won't tell anybody. You're doing your job and all that stuff. And she was relieved. So there's so many. It is an Obsidian game, so you should be, it's like Fallout New Vegas. There's so many things that all your actions have repercussions. Like early in the game, there was this smuggler that I helped her escape, so that later in the game, when I had to deal with smugglers, she was there, and she was there to say, no, he's cool. But yeah, the byplay. Oh, and their first companion, his name is Kai, but you might as well call him Garrus. Same exact voice actor, and he has sort of the same personality. He's just a blue-skinned fish person. Scott, you probably know what those guys are in Pillars of Eternity. He's
guys. The fish guys. I can't remember their race name, but they usually live in the water.
Yeah. So he's voiced by the same voice actor as Garrus. I haven't confirmed, but it's definitely Garrus. So I'm saying, oh great. So that makes me Commander Shepard. And then you get a dwarf companion who reminded me so much of Oghren from Dragon Age in a way. So yeah, but it's always nice to have Garrus with you, even if he's not actually Garrus.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm really having a good time. It doesn't feel like the Elder Scrolls in terms of expansiveness, but it's still. Here's the thing: the first city, Paradisus, my God, it's huge and confusing. It was like Vivek, except without the sensible design. If anybody knows Vivek from Morrowind, you know what I'm talking about. That place was huge too. So it felt like the city has more area than the rest. But when you pull back to the huge map, it's like, oh, the city is just this little part of it. So I'm getting into it, and I can see already where the horizon is going to take me. And it's like, okay, as Scott is probably going to do, I've been taking my time. I've been looking for. There's there are bounties that you can do. You can pass by people, and you have the typical exclamation points for people with missions. So yeah, but the one thing I'm going to say is that if you play on normal, that's Dark Souls normal. So if you don't want to do that, but you don't want story mode, maybe you should go to easy mode. So if you like Dark Souls, you'll feel right at home in Avowed.
Wow, pretty surprising because I hadn't heard that description before for this game.
It's definitely Dark Souls. It's definitely inspired. If you play Dark Souls and you see the stats on your screen when you're doing abilities, oh shit, this is Dark Souls.
Looks cool as hell how much the world is just interactive with itself. I saw someone using ice magic the other day, and you could straight up walk on the surface of water.
Yeah, if one of the puzzles has that, you can have an ice grenade and throw it.
Yeah, there's one where you can cast an ice aura around yourself, and if you run across a lake with it, you can walk on the surface of the water.
I haven't tried that yet, but I believe it. Once I accidentally shot a plant that gives off electricity, and we were all in water, so everybody, including me, started getting shocked by the water. So yeah, there's that level of environmental stuff that you see in games by Larian.
Yeah, I always liked that when they did that.
Yeah.
You can electrocute water, or put ice, or even fire on oil. It's great.
So yeah, it feels like a AA game. It doesn't feel like a AAA game. I think it's because it's done by Obsidian's B team, because I think the A team is working on the Outer Worlds too. And that's probably going to come out next year. It's going to be interesting to see when it comes, what the Outer Worlds 2 is going to be. By the way, speaking of which, they released a video for Reckless 2 2 weeks ago. I only saw it today. Have you seen it, TJ?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Check it out. Yes, there's going to be paint flecks and stuff and little stuff popping off your car. So at least it's going to have that.
Nice.
It looks gorgeous. I mean, the destruction is so unique. You have crumple zones and paint flecks, and it just looks like you're actually going to be in a demolition derby. You want to say something?
I was going to say, yeah, like that is probably one of my most anticipated games this year. Even if it just stays in early access all year long, I'm so excited for more Wreckfest.
Cool. So yeah, it's shaping up to look great. So what have you been playing, TJ?
Yeah, so I can finally talk about it now.
Yes, right. You had the embargo thing last week.
Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The character, they're not using Ichiban, they're not using Goro Majima. They're using. Oh wait, no, they are.
They are using Goro Majima.
I was thinking about his other friend, the other.
And it almost has to be Goro.
Oh yeah, Kiryu. Yeah.
It almost has to be Goro because I don't think this whole premise would work with any of the other characters. No. Goro is such a weird and unbothered god of a human being that just takes everything as it comes and also reacts to it psychotically.
He has an iPad already.
And what a cool, interesting little spinoff they've got here, where you just literally take Goro Majima. Like they do the thing where he's lost his memory. Okay, so like it's the amnesia cliche, but they only do that to make him not be an asshole from the get-go, so that he can hang out with this kid and go on a pirate adventure.
Like, oh, kid, you like pirates? Well, okay, I'll be a pirate for you.
Yep. And
the interesting thing is that they used the exact same map from the other Hawaii game and just plopped it here, and then added the boat like they did with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Yep. And the boating and sailing and pirate combat mechanic.
Oh, we should mention before we go on that this one is in real time. It's actual.
It's an action brawler. It's not a turn-based RPG. So yeah, you're back to swinging on enemies, using combos. I wouldn't say that the combat system is all that special, just because like you only get two fighting styles.
Yeah, one Yakuza, the other one pirate.
And then you can max them out pretty easily if you go treasure hunting. But like
a lot of people have said that late game, you're just an unstoppable force, and even the final boss is easy by the time you get there because you're just like, okay, oh, you're bothering me. Bling!
Yeah, you power up like crazy in this game, and the pirate stuff is pretty fun. Like you go sailing, you gather crewmates to man different parts of your ship. you get different weapons to change up your combat style, and then you when you defeat enemy ships, oftentimes you'll take your crew over to their ship.
I was about to say when
do like a 30 versus 30 death battle.
Yeah, and you know that bikini babe that you that you picked up for your ship. Oh, she's over there wailing on people with her sword.
Yeah. So and there are so many crewmates to collect throughout this whole thing. They're like Pokemon, except for
they're all. It's like the other ship has normal pirates, but your ship is like a circus.
Yeah, you got just a giant tree of a dude that brawls with people. You got Masaru, who's your ship cook, and he uses a giant chef's cleaver as his weapon.
Yeah, they're all fighting in the background while you're fighting. It's just you just see people in the background doing stuff.
And you can do team up attacks with them if you get your ultimate gauge up. So this is closer to what I wanted Skull and Bones to be as far as pirate stuff. This is what it should have been, where you're getting down and dirty, gathering crew, going onto ships, fighting other captains in hand-to-hand combat.
CJ, that requires the player having fun.
Right.
That's not what games are for. People don't play games for fun.
Well, anyways, Pirate Yakuza is a pretty dang good game. And it's not a really long game. It's probably about 30 hours altogether. Yeah. But there is a lot of side content in this thing. There is just mini games galore. And I'm not even just talking about the usual stuff like Sega putting other Sega games in this. It does. They have Virtua Fighter, old versions of Virtua Fighter. They have a Sega Master System where you can play all sorts of stuff like Alex Kidd. But they also have just a ton of mini games in this thing. There's one that's straight up a Crazy Taxi type delivery Uber Eats game, and that was funny as hell.
There's some people who really don't like getting off the ship. That it's sort of like Assassin's Creed Black Flag 4, in which it's sort of do stuff on land again.
That's one of the few things I'll take away from it is that it is tutorialized as hell to the point where I'm 5 hours in and the game is still telling me here's how to do blank. And it's come on, just let me keep going at this point. Let me play the game. Stop giving me new things and then explaining and then giving me entire 15-minute segments talking about how I use them. I get that I need to figure out how to play, but there are certain things that you don't need to tutorialize that far in.
There's people that need that much help though, so there should be an option to toggle that to turn it off when you're done.
I prefer what Avowed did and just go into story time mode and say, hey, you having a bunch of screw it, just whack everybody in sight. We don't care. Yeah,
because once you're set loose, once you have all that tutorial out of the way, it's just a fun adventure. And like I said, I don't think this is gonna move the needle much for non-Yakuza Like a Dragon fans. But it is a fun little spin-off that it makes for a good break between.
Yakuza actually, actually convert people and say, "Oh, this Yakuza stuff is cute. Let me try the other games." Oh, Yakuza 0 is a dour, and actually, Yakuza 0 is not dour. Yakuza 1 is dour.
Yes,
Yakuza 0 is just wacky.
It is. That's the Cabernet Goro Majima days, and I love that game. But yeah, good time. I gave it an 8 out of 10 in my review.
I can't imagine Cosmic Kiryu doing that crap.
Yeah.
By the way, I think this is one of the only games that has Goro as the straight up protagonist.
There are a few other spinoffs that have. He was the star of a zombie spinoff.
Yeah, but he's more like zombies. Can you beat anybody in the head with a bicycle or a park bench?
Yes, of course you can.
Then it's Yakuza game. Anyways, we're going to move on to quick news. Diablo speedrun sleuths proved its 15-year-old world record was fake after reverse engineering the game and failing to replicate the run in 2.2 billion possible randomized dungeons. I don't give a shit about video game cheaters, but it's amusing to me.
The speedrunners take this stuff so incredibly seriously, and if somebody finds out that you flubbed one to fake your results on the board, it's a death sentence for your online reputation.
How tiny a penis do you have to want to cheat at a video game? You need that recognition of being a speedrun champion.
I don't know. Let's ask Elon Musk.
No, he doesn't know how to play video games at all.
That's right. He pays other people to get him to the top.
Yeah. But I actually downloaded and installed the first Diablo, and it's sort of like, oh right, there's only one dungeon that you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and forgot about that. But I did enjoy playing it because I love the incidental music. That lone acoustic guitar.
Yeah. The other thing about speedrunners is that when they sense that something is a foul, they will go to ridiculous lengths.
I made the mistake looking at a video about cheaters, and now my YouTube thing is full of cheating. Like this guy was cheating at Civ 6 because what you can do is that you can have a seed, put in the seed, see where all the huts are, then play with other people and know immediately where those seeds are because you know the seed number that you're playing at, and they had to, well, he's going straight to the hut. You shouldn't know it's there, that sort of. Yeah.
But when you flood those results and then take it and put it up there as like the record that everybody else has to adhere to, especially when there's something amiss. I've seen, like, I used to work at Twin Galaxies at one point, and I have seen just how crazy deep into the details some people can get when it comes to like picking this stuff apart and figuring exactly what happened. And that sounds like what happened here, like reverse engineering an entire game to figure out why a world record is fake. That is dedicated and very
well, here's the thing.
That's some intense shit.
To have something be a speedrun world record for 15 years is unheard of, because from what I've seen, it's like the speedruns keep on getting broken every other year or even shorter because someone finds a new exploit, like the infamous thing in which Mario, if you jump a certain way, will teleport through a block. So you skip, like you shave off like half a second with 2 miles from something, that sort of thing. I can't imagine speedrunning something like Mario. I mean,
And they have like very, very specific categories to make sure that things are separated from each other. Like you don't put like a regular vanilla speedrun in the same category as a glitch speedrun where you would use something like breaking a wall to go to the end of the level.
There was another one that was discovered to be a cheater because there's one game, I forgot which one, maybe Diablo, I'm not sure, but in which you can submit segments of your thing, but when they looked at it, the version of the game kept changing. So it was impossible for it to be the same version of it was the original Diablo as well. And I don't think it was this one, it was a different one, but they found that the version of Diablo that the guy was using kept on changing, and that's how they knew it.
Yeah, and like I said, that's just how far people will go to like figure this stuff out, because legitimacy is a huge thing in the speedrun community.
When I go to the leaderboards of a game and someone's done a level in 0.001 seconds to be in the top of the leaderboard, I say, dude, we know you cheated because it's physically impossible for that to happen. Why do you need to do that? No one's going to care.
It's hard to say why anyone would do that stuff, especially when people try so hard to keep that stuff clean. But if there's a means to cheat, then somebody will probably cheat.
Anyways, moving on. The Call of Duty's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle crossover will cost $20 per turtle. So if you want all 4 turtles, that's going to cost you $80. But if you want the Splinter skin, you have to buy all of them and then tack on another $10. So that's $90.
That is absolutely absurd. Why would they?
So this is just a skin of the turtle.
It's just a skin.
Like a story.
Yeah, so you don't get any real advantage. People compare it to the same kind of bundle for Fortnite. That's $34. But what people seem to don't understand is that Fortnite makes much more money from microtransactions than Call of Duty. And, here's the thing. If you're a real big Turtle fan, you really want to be Mikey, and you can spend $20, go ahead. I don't care. It gives you a bunch of stuff. It's not like you just get the one skin. You get a bunch of stuff that go to them. But still, running around Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as Donatello, what are people going to think when you're running around like that? You know what? You're going to be a magnet for snipers. They say, oh shit, there's someone who spent $20 to be Donatello, and look, his body is nice and big, and we can aim at it real easy. And he's purple. He's purple and green.
Yeah, that is absolutely absurd on that price, though. That is the cost of another game and a half. If you're talking about buying a full price game,
yeah,
like there's not a single Teenage Mutant. There's not a single thing, a single crossover in any game that I think I would pay the price of a full game for.
The other problem is, why would the turtles ever use guns?
Yeah, that's the
fingers. Could they
surreal
even
part.
stick in the figure into the trigger?
That's the weird part to see that it wouldn't fit right. It would just look so weird.
Here's the thing: if you really want the turtles, wait, because there's going to be some sale 6 months from now. Get all 4 turtles for $10.
Yeah, and it's the same. Like, I guess it must cost a lot of money to license the turtles out too, because I remember this happening with Street Fighter 6 when they had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover stuff, and those ended up being like $15 per turtle costume.
I just had an idea. Hey, Microsoft, you own the Battletoads. Why not have the Battletoads in there and you can buy them for $1 each? You're gonna go that route and have tournaments in which everybody on one side are turtles, everybody on the other side are Battletoads, and just have a huge battle. Capture the flag with turtles and toads. You're gonna have a farce. Make it a complete farce. You know. So, in better news, Valve released the Team Fortress 2 source code. For those who don't know, that means that people can rip it apart and just make really intense mods. You can have mods in any game, but if you release the source code, that allows them to make even deeper mods that are more intricate with the game. It's sort of like you can do a lot more if you have the source code. And Team Fortress 2 has been out for 22 years. You might as well. You might as well just give it all free. You can play for free. Hey, here's the source code. Go nuts. Start your own server in which all the characters are now female versions of themselves with watermelon-sized breasts. If you want to do that, go ahead. On your own server, by the way, not all Titty Fortress 2.
Yeah. But that is cool. Like, I know that, like, we've had so many hero shooters since Team Fortress 2 came out, and a lot of people still feel like Team Fortress 2 is better than most of what is coming.
Elemental. It's less complicated. I mean, here's the thing. I always like playing the Scout because I like running around and beating people over the head with an aluminum baseball bat.
Mm-hmm. The Spy is one of my favorites. Just like not only in the game, but like in all of the little videos that they've done since. Those things are hilarious and fun.
Well, when I'm not the Scout, sometimes I like to be the Pyro and then roast those idiotic spies who think they can. Oh, you're the Heavy? What the fuck are you doing in here? Let me just. Get out. It's even amusing when they come in dressed as a Pyro, say, "Oh, let's test our things together." Oh, mine works.
It's kind of sad that we're probably not going to see Team Fortress 3 for a pretty long time since they're kind of focused up on Deadlock right now.
Well, here's the thing. Team Fortress 2 still makes money. So why would they need to bother? That's the reason why. And people said, why is it taking so long with Elder Scrolls 6? Dude, they've been selling Skyrim full price for the past 10 plus years. They don't need to make an Elder Scrolls 6 right away because the fifth one is making gobs of money, which also, by the way, has the most mods, I think. There's about 2 billion mods. What?
Skyrim has a crazy amount of mods. It's just a ton.
And people are just making mods to improve the graphics anyways. If you want up to date Elder Scroll Skyrim graphics, hey, guess what? Someone's done it already. You don't need a remastered version of Elder Scrolls if someone already did it for you. Of course, they released an official remastered version, but at least that was free, which we're going to be talking about later when we get to Sony, but we're not there yet. Okay, so this next item is probably going to make your eyebrows raise. Mystery Tony Hawk Remastered, now mentioned by a pro skater involved in the game, even though Activision hasn't announced it yet. And it's a remaster, which means, of course, Tony Hawk 3 and 4. But here's the thing that's probably going to make you sad, TJ. I really doubt Vicarious Visions. And if they are, they haven't said anything.
Yeah, they've been, from what I understand, chained under the Diablo mines.
Maybe not, because here's the thing. Diablo 4 has been out a while. I think it's not in maintenance yet, but it's not just the one group that's.
Oh no! Wait, it was Call of Duty. They're being forced to work on Call of Duty bullshit.
Again, we don't know. They could say, "Okay, you can go over there and do that Tony Hawk thing." I mean, here's the thing: why not?
At one point, they were already working on this. Like there was supposedly word that they were working on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, and that obviously kind of fell through and went.
Well, apparently it hasn't because someone's working on something.
Yeah, but like that went silent and dormant up until now.
I'm
Like that was years ago. That was years ago at this point that Tony Hawk 1 and 2 came out and they talked about 3 and 4, and then Vicarious Visions got moved over to other things.
But here's the thing. It's fine they're making a remaster, but at what point someone has to do a Tony Hawk 6? I know people are really, really burned by Tony Hawk 5, but guess what? That was a trash fire from the start. Just make a new Tony Hawk. I mean, Skate is okay, but there's a lot of people who don't like Skate because it's too technical. They want the fantasy skateboard Hawk.
I mean, Tony Hawk 1+2 was pretty close to a new game because it did have the old levels, but it also had a lot of new skaters there, like from today's scene.
Yeah, but big game, big Tony Hawk 6. And oh, by the way, don't make it an open.
Yeah, yeah, I would love.
You don't need them.
I would love to have a Tony Hawk 6 that was just all sorts of new levels, like today's skaters, maybe some of the older skaters as well.
Let me ask you a question. What about in June when everybody's doing their reveals? The Activision Blizzard reveal is that, yes, it's Tony Hawk 3 and 4, and yes, Vicarious Visions did work on it. I would love to see the expression on your face.
I mean, if Vicarious Visions is back on a Tony Hawk game, I'll be happy. But it's hard to say what's happening until we get an actual reveal. I would love for this all to be true.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to main news, and yeah, TJ, you can talk about the first item in the most depressed voice you can possibly have.
Netflix culls staff at Oxenfree developer Night School Studio from Eurogamer.
Good job. Maybe you weren't trying to be depressed about it.
It sucks. Like, streaming giant Netflix has laid off staff at Oxenfree developer Night School Studio. According to game developer, an unspecified number of workers were told their services were no longer required last month, which came as a shock to the indie game company. Netflix declined to comment on the report. Best known for its Oxenfree games, Night School Studio was bought by Netflix in 2021 as part of the streaming giant's ongoing plans to expand into interactive entertainment. Night School Studio's first game, Oxenfree, was acclaimed upon its initial launch in 2016. The studio's 2019 follow-up, After Party, did not seem to hit the same level of recognition. In 2023, Night School Studio returned to Oxenfree with a direct sequel, Oxenfree 2: Lost Signals. In October 2024, Netflix closed a major internal game studio led by Halo creative head Joseph Staten and seemingly scrapped its big-budget game before it was ever announced. Earlier this month, Netflix celebrated its biggest quarterly subscriber increase in history by increasing prices yet again. Yeah, this is a shit sandwich. Like, everything about this sucks.
Here's the thing. Whenever you have these big streaming services getting into something else, it's sort of like, yeah, it's not going to work. Do you know Luna? You remember Luna? Amazon Luna? No?
Yeah.
It's still around, but no one cares.
Yeah.
I liked Oxenfree, the first one. I had the one ending. I liked the ending. I didn't play it again. I liked After Party less, but it was still okay. I have not yet played Oxenfree.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to fiddle with Oxenfree 2 either, but like this was the first studio that Netflix bought when it started this gaming initiative. And Netflix games has not been a bad thing. Like, we got Hades on there. Like, straight up, you can just play Hades on your phone if you have a Netflix
Who's the one
subscription.
who revived The Walking Dead?
After you're talking about after Telltale, right?
Yeah, well, someone revived Telltale.
I can't remember what the name of the new group that they're running under is. I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name they're running under right now. But yeah, like this was like the first of all of Netflix's acquisitions, and it sounds like the Netflix games thing, it hasn't had the traction that they want it to, and so they're starting to shut down certain things of it. We saw.
Telltale was in a partnership with Netflix. They were the ones who did Minecraft Story Mode, and then they did the Stranger Things game. Then they started working with Night School Studio to make a first-person narrative-driven game, but then they had difficulty cooperating with Telltale, and then Telltale was closed again.
Yeah,
I remember that shit show.
And then, like 4 months ago, like you said, like we see in the story here, they shut down Joseph Staten's studio in California, and the game, whatever they were working on.
You're talking about a guy who was heavily involved with Halo. Not as much as people think, but in the first trilogy, you always see his name there. By the way, Telltale is now with LCG Entertainment.
Interesting.
But here's the thing: they also announced The Wolf Among Us 2 in 2019, but I haven't heard hide nor hair of it.
I hope this doesn't end up with a whole bunch of studios having the rug pulled out from under them.
Oh, that's going to be a theme here. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sick of seeing that story. I'm sick of seeing big groups grab a whole bunch of studios and then not know what the fuck to do with them. And then they end up closing down those studios and laying people off.
Here's the thing. We're seeing the effects of the bubble that was created by the pandemic. Because remember, a lot of things were inflated by the pandemic because people weren't going out. What were they doing? They were playing video games. And now you see this major readjustment back to normal. People are no longer overpaying because, hey, Netflix got some studios in 2021. Gee, what happened before that? Oh, right. They saw the money being made by Animal Crossing and said, we want some of that. And then all these games and people were just playing, yeah, we want some of that. That's why we also got the live service bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Because people were staying in and playing live service games, and they said, "Oh, wait, maybe live service games are the new easy way to make money." No, people have more time.
That really seems so short-sighted because Nintendo, they've been making these games for years. You can't just jump in and expect to make.
Well, we're talking about live service games too, not just Nintendo games like Animal Crossing. I'm talking about in general. What happens was that you had this inflated market, and now it's deflating, and people are scrambling. It's like. Yeah, if you're going to... See, that's the thing with the Call of Duty $20 things, right? Because they need to make money because making Call of Duty is expensive. Very expensive. Reaching $1 billion when you include advertising. So, what happens is we're seeing a readjustment right now. We're going to see a lot more indie games because guess what? All these developers now out of jobs say, well, we're gonna have to publish our own shit.
Pretty much what Sabotage is doing. They published their own game, Sea of Stars. They did all the work. They just had an investor.
Well, they kickstarted it for one.
Yeah.
And the Kickstarter attracted a publisher.
Yeah. But they did all, I guess, the publishing work. They just used the publisher as an investor instead.
Well, you know what? I mean, look at Eric Barone there, Concerned Ape, and he self-publishes his own game, Stardew Valley, and he's still making bank.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what a lot of people are going to try to do now. The only problem with that is now you have so many indie games popping up. It's like a lot of these games are never going to find an audience.
Yeah, it'll be...
But on the other hand, a lot of these people are making these indie games aren't doing it for the money. I know a lot of developers say if you're going into video games to make money, you're going to get screwed. You shouldn't go in there to make money because you're not. You're not. You might be one of the lucky few, but it's probably not going to happen. The best you can do is have people giving you high reviews on the store page on PlayStation Network and Xbox. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the next Coffee Talk. There's a lot of people. These smaller games do get a following. So right now, like Coffee Talk has an intense following. It's not a big following, but it is a devoted following, including yours truly. I mean, Scott picked his live service game. It's called Minecraft.
Minecraft
is a live service game. Don't fool yourself. There's always content coming out. There's always DLC. It's a live service game. It's one of those games that is designed to eat your time. And guess what? That's not a bad thing if you really enjoy it. You may not like it.
Jonah, goddammit. I'm not continuing to give them money. It's not a subscription. I'm not buying DLC from them. I bought it once and I play it whenever I want to and then stop. It's not like World of Warcraft or Fortnite.
Well, that's like me with other live service games. I don't spend much money on Animation Throwdown. They're not getting money from me, but it's still a live service game. Remember, live service game only needs a few whales. You're not one of the whales.
No,
what you are is a population which attracts the whales. Because guess what? These whales aren't going to go in an ocean unless they see a lot of fish. I just compared Scott to a fish. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to pay for anything for it. It's still a live service game. And Microsoft still treats it like a live service. I could go into Fallout 76 and never spend a dime, and it's still a live service game. But here's the thing. live service game is not a negative. It's a neutral name. It is not inherently bad, but it's still a descriptor. You can give it negative connotations if you like. The problem with live service games is that a lot of companies think we have all the time in the world to play multiple live service. No, you have time for Minecraft, right? You don't really have time for anything else. I mean, except for single player games. I just mean for another game that requires that much of your time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. That's why I stopped playing Civilization, because it requires so much of my time.
And that's the problem with Civilization 7 is that they're trying to turn it into a live service game. Same pricing model as NBA 2K, if you notice. They even have a banner, an advertising banner, if you're not logged into 2K. And I'm willing to bet you that banner isn't just going to be restricted to 2K in the future. I mean, they've made it so that you can buy different skins of leaders as DLC. Skins, not actual leaders. I feel bad for Brian Reynolds. He was told by 2K, we want you to monetize this more. But here's the thing about Civilization. Players really don't play Civilization for multiplayer. They don't. They just don't. I mean, they can, and they do, but that's not the reason why they buy Civilization. They don't buy Civilization to compete. They buy Civilization because they want a single-player game which they can sit for on hours and watch their civilization go from the Stone Age to the Space Age. It's going to be like SimCity 2015. They tried to monetize that as a live service game. Who talks about SimCity anymore? Anyways, this is depressing. So let's depress you even further. Netflix, I know that Marvel Rivals team hit by layoffs despite major launch success. And this comes from some Eurogamer. Free-to-play hero shooter Marvel Rivals has been a huge success for publisher NetEase, smashing through the 20 million player barrier just weeks into its launch, and is still attracting over 250,000 daily concurrent players on Steam. That hasn't been enough to stop NetEase from making layoffs across the U.S. development team that helped to land a hit. Marvel Rivals game director Thaddeus Sasser broke the news of job cuts at NetEase's Seattle-based studio in a post shared on LinkedIn. This is such a weird industry, he wrote. My stellar, talented team just helped deliver an incredibly successful new franchise in Marvel Rivals for NetEase games, and we're just laid off. Sasser didn't say how many people were lost their jobs, but we know that Jack Barrows and Gary McGee were laid off, as they related this in separate posts. In November, this isn't the only people who are suffering this. Like in November, BioWare veteran Mac Walters announced a pause in operations at his NetEase-backed Worlds Untold. Similarly, Jar Sparks, a first-party NetEase developer who founded by Halo Infinite head of design Jerry Hook in 2022, halted work on its currently unannounced debut title in January, laying off staff and began searching for a new publishing partner. This week also saw layoffs at Liquid Swords, and this is part of a layoff thing that's been going on for the past few years, which saw 25,000 employees lose their jobs since the start of 2023 from places like Unity, Hi-Res Studios, Sumo Digital, Ubisoft, Splash Damage, and Midnight Society. It's a painful bubble bursting right now.
This is so weird to see, just because Marvel Rivals has been astronomically successful.
Yeah.
Like, what does it take to not get laid off in gaming?
I don't know, man. You can make a successful game and get your studio shut down. You can just it's nuts. I don't know, man.
This is probably one of the most ridiculous ones, just because Marvel Rivals shows no signs of slowing down. They literally released like season 1.5 patch notes and marketing material as the news was hitting about this team getting laid off.
At some point, someone said it costs more money to keep them than to let them go than to keep them, because you need them for development and the launch and a few months of the launch. But at some point, they say, well, guess what? We have enough players. We don't need them anymore. And that's self-destructive, because guess what? You're not going to be able to keep those players. But probably they made their money, and they made more than their money, and say, okay, we don't care if Marvel Rivals lives or dies anymore. Well, maybe not that, but they'll think, well, at this point, if people stop playing Marvel Rivals, we'll have made quite a profit.
It's just ridiculous. Like, I can't believe that of all the games that I was expecting to read about layoffs on, Marvel Rivals was like the last one on my mind, given how ridiculously well it's gone for them this season.
Sort of, hey, look, they made their money. Now they don't need them anymore. And if the quality declines, they don't care.
It's sad.
But, I mean, here's the thing. Now more developers will know. It's sort of like, yeah, so be ready with your next job elsewhere. after we complete this game, because you never know. You have a passion project, start working on it. Like I said, there is a readjustment happening right now as the bubble is burst, and we're going to have a new normal at some point. And oh, by the way, that'll explain the $20 turtles and also Microsoft going hard in on multi-platform. And by the way, Sony's going to notice we're struggling right now with money. Oh, look at Microsoft. Wait, they're doing multi-platform. It's the same thing with PC. Sony, we're struggling. We need to make more money. Oh, look, Microsoft's releasing stuff on Steam. Let's release on PC too. At some point, Sony's going to give up and say, yeah, let's start releasing things multi-platform. I don't know when it's going to be because they're a market leader, but Microsoft is more profitable. And Sony may think, well, our TVs aren't selling. Let's start doing multi-platform things. Speaking of Sony bullshit, go ahead, Scott.
Okay. Days Gone Remastered, $10 PS5 upgrade, not available for game redemption via PS Plus. Days Gone Remastered was one of the standout announcements during Sony's recent State of Play showcase, but some PlayStation Plus subscribers aren't happy about the $10 upgrade. Sony has confirmed that the $10 upgrade to remastered version on PlayStation 5 is only available to those who own the PlayStation 4 disc or digital copy of Days Gone. Game redemptions via subscription service PS Plus, therefore, are not eligible for the $10 upgrade to the remaster. This means that who owns Days Gone via PS Plus will have to pay the full $50 to play this new PS5 version of the game. I would have paid $10 for the upgrade just to try it out, despite the fact that remaster for this game is not necessary, wrote @Severe4623 on Reddit in a lengthy thread full of complaints about the issue. CD Projekt Red gives us free Witcher 3 PS5 upgrades so many years after the release, and Sony charges $50 if you have PS Plus version, added Mosquito.
I think Sony is being financially moronic here. No one's going to spend $50 for a game they already own. No one. They don't care if it's remastered. It still works on our PlayStation 5, and I'm pretty sure there's some digital upscaling from PS4 version. I'm pretty sure there is. Who the fuck is going to pay $50 for a second copy of the game that has some graphic? You know what Microsoft does? Hey, whatever. You want to make it a premium? Go ahead. We're not going to charge you again because you have it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
And I think like you said, Witcher 3. Hey, you want an upgrade? It's free.
I think they did something similar with Fallout 4
Spider-Man.
or maybe another game that had a lot of DLC.
It was Spider-Man, if I remember correctly. Spider-Man, the PS4 version, the PS5 version.
No, I'm talking about a game that you could get through PS Plus, and then it had an upgrade later like this. I'm pretty sure it was Fallout 4, where you could get the base edition of Fallout 4 and PS Plus through the library, but like if you tried to play like Game of the Year content, it was you had to pay like $30 to upgrade it. It was
keep in mind that's Sony's decision, not Bethesda.
And I don't think that you could upgrade the PS Plus version of the game. I think you had to buy like a base version of the game to upgrade.
Like I said, that's not Bethesda's decision. That's Sony's decision because they get a cut of all sales on the PlayStation Network store. I don't think they get it. I don't think they get the idea of what a streaming service is. Because here, like I said, here's news. Those people ain't going to pay $50 for a new game. They will pay $10 for a remaster, to upgrade the game, but they're not going to pay full price to upgrade a game they already own. How else is it going to change? It's not DLC. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's greedy as hell, to be sure. And it's kind of a weird thing anyways. Like, Days Gone Remastered was such an out-of-the-blue thing to begin with, where it's like, I know that people have been interested in seeing Bend get another chance at another game, which doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But I guess we're getting Days Gone Remastered, which there are a lot of fervent fans of this series, specifically the gameplay with the zombies and the motorcycle.
I'm going to tell you one thing, though. Those fervent fans aren't going to spend $50 for a PS5 version.
Yeah, no doubt.
PS4 version. I don't care how big a fan they are. They're going to say no.
Yeah. Like I agree with you. That's a lot to ask for just getting a remaster of a game you've played already. If you already have
owned. Or you're already. Anyways, this is going to be the first time in quite a few years I've done this, and that is we're going to do a gaming history, which is not a flashback, it's history. And I know Scott is probably well aware of this gaming history about the Eternal War. So, Reddit member Lyserius in 2012 posted his results from a decade-long game of Civilization II, where for 10 real years, 3 factions fought over the Earth. The Americans, the Celtics, the Celts he controlled, and the Vikings. Civilization II was released in 96, but when Civ 3 was released in 2001, Lyserius said he was already deep into his current game and wanted to see how far he could go. He didn't play every day, but he would return to what he called a hellish nightmare of suffering and devastation when he had the free time. By the time he posted in 2012, the year was 3991, and it was a planet left with multiple nuclear wars. The Celts were locked in a 1700-year war with the Americans and the Vikings. All the other nations have been destroyed or absorbed. He said in his post, "Peace seems to be impossible. Every time a ceasefire is signed, the Vikings will surprise attack me or the Americans in the very next turn, often with nuclear weapons. Even when the UN forces a peace treaty, I can only assume that peace will come when they're wiped out. If it is this that perpetuates the war ad infinitum." And if I remember correctly, yeah, the Vikings were always very aggressive in Civ 3. The Mongols became that team in Civilization 5. Because of the continual fighting, he was forced to abandon democracy and adopt a communist state because his Senate kept on overruling him when he wanted to declare war. Also, his cities were filled with starving people. 90% of his world's population died from nuclear annihilation or famine from global warming because he says he has to keep building war machines to sustain his combat efforts. So you want a granary so you can eat? Sorry, I have to build another tank instead. Maybe next time. Constant nuclear bombardment and sabotage have melted the world's ice caps over 20 times, resulting in flooding of all the terrain except for the mountains. He said his world is essentially one giant swamp, which you cannot farm on, and irradiated lands. Sid Meier himself said they never thought about going that far in the future. He said, "There's no way we could attest to this, so it was a surprise to us. I can't say we ever thought anyone would play a game of Civ for that long. It's exciting that a fan of the series would dedicate 10 years to playing one continuous game." Lyserius stated, "My goal for the next few years is to try and end the war and thus use engineers to clear swamps and fallout so that farming may resume. I want to rebuild the world, but I'm not sure how." At the same time, Mayor gave him a new challenge. We should send him a copy of Civ 5 and Civ 5 Gods and Kings. Wow, remember those? Maybe in 10 years he can create a similar scenario. We applaud you for playing what's sure to be the longest game of Civ ever. So, what's going on now? Well, he was never able to finish that war, but what he did do was he uploaded the save file to ModDB, and now there's a subreddit dedicated to people playing the Eternal War and trying to solve that puzzle. So
that is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So yeah, this was 13 years ago.
I do remember this story. Yeah, I mean it's still pretty crazy that it happened back then, and I just. I don't know how you let it get out of that bad out of hand. I mean, maybe he's on deity or something. Well,
here's the thing: when the game Civ 2, the game would end at a certain point. I think it was at 2000 or something like that. But you had the option of continuing past that, and that's what he did. Instead of having the standard game over, he said, "No, I'm going to keep going on." And man, I don't know. Here's the thing: it's not like he was constantly playing this game. He would just come back to it every so often, right? And and I love the fact there's a fan community surrounding the Eternal War even now, because it's sort of like trying to solve an impossible puzzle, trying to end the game with a victory condition. DJ, did you ever hear this?
I've never played this one.
You never heard? No, I'm not saying about Civ 2. Did you ever hear this story?
No, I hadn't.
Okay. It's a wild story. It's like, I remember reading 2012, I was like, Jesus Christ. And it's kind of a depressing thought. You can't have democracy. You can't. Because the Senate will just keep saying, no, you can't go to war. And you can't feed the people. You have to build tanks. It's like the entire world turned into North Korea.
And like every time they try to make peace, the Vikings will just ruin everything.
Boom! Here come the missiles. I wish it was India just so that Gandhi could say, my words are backed with nuclear weapons.
Wow. That is cool. Like, if they really have been keeping this game going for that long and continuing to play.
Well, for 10 years. I think he gave up at that point. But like I said, he uploaded the save file so that other people could endure the torture that he was enduring. And it's like I said, it's an unsolvable puzzle that people are trying to solve by hook or by crook. Or they just want to see what it's like to have 3 factions that are just fighting over a post-apocalyptic world. That's just one big swamp, one big irradiated swamp. And I like the fact it's sort of like a cautionary tale.
It seems that way, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Ralph has some feedback. Go ahead, TJ.
All right. Listener feedback from Ralph on episode 743. Hi, guys. Sorry for the late reply. I simply forgot to comment. Thanks for the episode. Even if I did not play any of these games, I was never much interested in similar games. I played the hell out of Path of Exile 2. It's an awesome game if you like these kind of games. Yep, everybody has been talking about like how ridiculously good Path of Exile 2 is.
How ridiculously stupid Elon Musk is.
I think it's good to see that like Path of Exile 2 has kind of come out of the gate with very little problems. Because if you remember, Diablo 4 fell on its face and tripped down this and like tumbled down some stairs before it found its footing.
Yeah. At some point it's going to go on Game Pass because they're definitely going to need the player base.
It really does feel like it's up to the indies to save the gaming industry sometimes.
Well, see, the thing is that
SimCity
you couldn't live with just indie games. Trust me, it would be a very boring. You do need the big splashy blockbuster, but the problem is that you can't force feed a big splashy blockbuster because everybody has a certain amount of time. See, it isn't money so much; it is time investment. I'm willing to invest time in Avowed because I'm getting into it and I'm having fun and I'm liking the story and I want to see where it ends up. Even though I have very little knowledge of the Pillars of Eternity, so I can't wait to hear your assessment when you do finally get to play it.
Yeah,
Scott, because I want to see someone who's spent a lot of time in the Pillars of Eternity universe, their perspective on everything. I will say this, the writing is really, really good, and you have the Pillars of Eternity version of Garrison.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah. You didn't play Pillars of Eternity, did you?
No, I haven't.
Anyways, look for our show notes at gamingpodcast.net along with industry news and our gaming history articles. If you enjoy videos, leave comments on our blog at gamingpodcast.net. Also, hit us up at facebook.com/gamingpodcast.net. You can find me on Twitter at Blue Sky at Jonah Falcon.
You can find me at Johnny Chugs.
You can find me at Shard the Sage.
And you will see us next week.
Happy gaming, everyone.
Have fun, be cool, play games, y'all.